acoustics in here are quite good. Don't need that little machine over there. But I'm here to sort of just help and support Troy. He's cheering tonight. Can I start with just a little story? Last night we had a meeting out at Pakowhai. It was a wonderful meeting, well attended. But the one who actually started off there was Hawke, and everyone knows Hawke from over at Blakesby away. I'm a very poor rendition of Hawke in terms of our karakia. But let me tell you a story, and there's a subtleness in the story in terms of setting our protocols for tonight. I had an auntie, her name was Reverend Polly Brooking. And one day she went to a meeting back in Wairau, which is where I'm from, and our family were all gathered there in the marae, and they says, "Aunt, would you say a karakia for us, please?" Reverend Polly. She says, "Absolutely." And so she did this karakia, beautiful karakia. And then afterwards, they went into their meeting. It was a shocking meeting, terrible. And at the end of it, they went back to Auntie Polly and they said, "Can you say a karakia just to close us off?" She says, "You don't deserve one," refused, and walked out of the meeting. Isn't that subtle? So what I want you to do is, you will believe somewhere and you will have a faith somewhere. But the words I'm going to say to you are the ones that I learned, and the karakia is our Lord's Prayer. The subtleness that I displayed in the little story beforehand is listen to the words, because on that day with Auntie Polly, none of her nieces and her nephews listened to the words in the prayer. So that's my suppleness for tonight. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I'm looking forward to further karakia at the end.
Thanks, buddy. I'll try without the mic. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Troy Duncan. My family came to Pakowhai, or was Pakowhai then, it's now Pakowhai, in 1969 to land on a road that then had no name and was later called Links Road. We went to Pakowhai school, played table tennis here in the hall on a Wednesday. A 20-cent bag of lollies across the road was worth having, and celebrated occasions in this hall, which may be part of the reason they don't rent it out for parties anymore. Sorry. I went away for a while, and then by twisted fate ended up back with my life in Pakowhai and Allen Road. Not in my wildest dreams did I think I'd ever had cheapos zooming past our house, rescuing people from rooftops. My family was affected badly, has been affected badly like yours. My parents were flooded and are displaced. My brother's business was flooded and is disrupted. My wife and our teenage children have lost, like you, like most of you, have lost a lot. It was felt that it was better to have someone from the community stand up here and start proceedings rather than a bureaucrat or a ring-in. So here I am. I'd rather not be, as you all would probably rather not be here either, under the circumstances. But here we are, trying to make sense of it all and see a way forward. This evening we have several speakers here to answer questions and help us in our way forward, as difficult as it may be.
Just lift your volume a bit, please, Troy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the mic.
Sorry, my way. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't start again. Okay, so please help us to keep this meeting respectful and effective. There will be more occasions and communications to put across our thoughts and ideas into the future. Tonight we have important and useful information to be delivered by the speakers. So tonight we're going to start the speakers with the really important people instead of the mayor, which might be normal. Sorry Sandra, no offence. So these people who can hopefully help us with temporary housing if required and our physical and mental well-being. These people are here to help and will be available at the end to talk with to find out more information or direction. We've put these people first because you are the people that matter, and we all need to look after ourselves. Don't be afraid to ask for help or talk. We have never experienced anything like this before. It is uncharted territory. Now I'd like to invite Mike, Christine and TBC to come and talk to us.
Koutou katoa. I'm Mike Hayward. I'm a Ringan. I flew in about half an hour ago. I'm from Christchurch. And clearly a bureaucrat the way I'm dressed. Temporary accommodation. So the temporary accommodation service started with the Christchurch earthquakes. And that was by the Department of Building and Housing, who built villages in Christchurch and in Kaipoi to support those that obviously were displaced from the earthquake. And at that time, the Department of Building and Housing and MSD ran it, and then MB inherited it, the service. So our team was built from then. And then after the Christchurch earthquakes, there wasn't a lot of events in New Zealand, so the team was trying to think of the word. They got rid of the team that dealt with temporary accommodation, and then in 2018 they reignited the team because of the earthquakes that had happened in Kaikoura, and then the different events that have started happening, and of course they've become more and more significant around the country. So the temporary accommodation service via MB provides accommodation for people who are displaced who cannot find their own accommodation. So often you can find your own accommodation after an event, but sometimes because of the size of the event and the lack of available housing, it becomes more challenging. So besides the villages in Christchurch, what we've typically done is provide a cabin to people, and that cabin typically goes on your site at home, and MB will pay to deliver the cabin, they'll pay to connect it, and then you'll pay a market rent for that cabin until your house is repaired or whatever happens in that process. So at the moment, because of the size of the event, we're putting people in motels, and soon we'll provide some motorhomes. They are more immediate measures, I guess, to help solve immediate problems where people are crammed into houses. And as we progress through, like I say, we'll start to move towards cabins and building smaller villages where possible to try and help solve the accommodation process. And I'm happy to stay here and help people register for temporary accommodation and answer any questions you've got.
We just pass it on to the next person to introduce themselves.
Kia ora tātou katoa, hui hoi mai nei. My name is Christine King. I'm a professional lead for Te Whatu Ora, Te Mātou a Māui in the mental health space. Weird. Sorry. Feel like I'm doing the Bob or something. So I'm back again. I was here at the last community hui that you had, and I know around that time emotions were really high in what was happening with your homes and silt and the things all related to the cyclone, the aftermath. As you go through a disaster, you will go through different emotions. And I talk about going through different waves of emotion, and when you were ready to talk, that Te Whatu Ora are here to help. We do have people already on the ground doing lots of mahi out there, like cyclone, support help with hot meals, and there's lots of amazing things that are going down in that space. You've also got Red Cross, you've got victim support, there's many helplines, but sometimes it's hard to reach out to those places. What I've been saying to people is if you are concerned about a neighbour or someone and you see that someone's suffering, if you get their consent, you can pass that on to us at Te Whatu Ora, but we need their consent first. We can't act on anything unless they consent to that. So your first port of call will be your GP or your nurse practitioners, your health practitioners. Speak to someone close to you. Talk about those things that matter to you in the way that is safe for you when you're ready. I said that the last time. When you are ready, because you've got lots of things to do. Also, I had Lionel here talking the last time, and he spoke about the most important thing is your health. When you're out there in the salt, to be wearing masks because of the because he's, yes, and that. Those things you can catch easily when you're out in the silt and the water and you've got the mosquitoes and things like that. So your health is really important. So make sure you keep yourselves safe. Wash your hands. Don't go eating food straight after you've touched the salt. You need to really keep yourself safe so you can remain healthy to continue the mahi that you need to do to move forward. Thank you.
Kia ora everyone, I'm Karen from MSD, Work and Income. We have another couple of MSD people here, Aroha and Kelly down the back. We're all wearing these jackets with the Maori mark on them if you want to speak to us later. So I'll be very brief. I just want to say to you that civil defence payments are still alive and well. At the moment we have them extended through to the 6th of April. We are reviewing that this week to see if we can extend it for longer. So that is, if you've lost your livelihood because of the flood, you can call us and ask about that, or come in and see us or talk to us tonight. If you need assistance with some of the basic living things, food, bedding, clothing, that sort of thing, or if you are billeting friends or whānau during this time, you can apply for a civil defence payment. I also just want to touch on for our employers in the audience that MSD is also providing a service there. So if you are wishing to retain any of your workers, and that is difficult, you know there's going to be a period of time before you can get back to normal, and you may want to train them in some other function, either with your organisation or with someone else. Come and talk to us and we can help there. We do have a specific email address, so you don't, this is just for the East Coast region, so you don't have to wait in a big queue or something like that. It is a terrible email address. It's redeploymentsupport@msd.govt.nz. There is, oh, here we go. There is also an 0800 number, which I won't call out because you're not going to remember it, but come and see us and we'll happily tell you about that. If you are employed, but you're working less hours or your income is less as a result of the flood, also get in touch with us either through our 0800 number or online. We may be able to support you with some other sort of assistance to help increase your income while things are getting back to normal. So MSD is here, and we'll be here later on to talk to anyone who wishes to discuss anything with us. Thank you.
Good evening everyone, and it is great to be back with our whānau from Pakowhai.
There's questions. Has anybody got questions?
Karen from MSD.
No, general questions for those three, I would say. Well, Mr. Rook's one.
Sorry, I haven't seen the questions.
Yeah.
Support services, so temporary additional support.
So does anyone have questions?
Troy, would you be good enough just to name the speakers who are proposing to speak, or they come up briefly to the mic themselves, and just what bodies they represent?
Okay, I was hoping that'd be there. Yeah.
Sorry, apologies. I'm Karen, I'm from the Ministry of Social Development, so income and employment
Any other
assistance.
speakers who haven't spoken who are lined up to speak, would you go to say who you're speaking on behalf of, please?
Thank you. So are there any questions for MSD?
When our insurance money runs out for rent and we're up to our eyeballs in mortgage payments for houses we can't live in, what are we going to do then? We can't really rent a cabin.
May you stay in temporary accommodation?
We're renting, but
Yes.
we don't
Yes.
need a cabin, but also if we did get a cabin, we actually couldn't afford the cabin.
Yes. So Work and Income does have accommodation support products.
Is that based on what
They're,
we earn?
they're correct. Yes. Yes.
We couldn't have a mortgage if we were earning
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Based on what you've got left.
Yeah.
If you've got nothing, you'll get something.
Yeah, so there are difficulties in this situation, and there are products that have been developed over time. We'll talk to you and see what sorts of supports or what other sorts of funding there is available. So I can't give you an answer on that one straight away, but your insurance is in place at the moment? Yeah, okay. So we will be able to get people to talk with you, possibly insurance people.
Just to interrupt, following up what Melissa was saying. MSD told us that we had to spend every dollar in our bank account before we were entitled to get any more. And we've all lost our homes, and anything left in our bank account is to try and rebuild our homes. And that's just not right. It's not fair.
Yeah. So civil defence payments, there's no asset limit or anything like that on that. That is an entitlement. For other standard supports, there are eligibility criteria.
Is that for just one more week?
What's that?
The 6th of April?
At the moment, but we are looking to extend that. Yeah.
We need to get legislation changed for a disaster, so those stupid rules are in place for normal.
Yeah, understand the difficulty and really.
Is that something that's going to be looked at or
really happy to take all of that away. We don't make legislation here, sadly, but we can feed up the information and also gather the people that can have solutions. It's not going to be either a one-off MSD or solution. We may have to gather other government agencies, other sorts of people together to try and find insurance included, to try and find some solutions.
Not time to get it now.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to do these things to keep it going, the civil defence payments, etc. Yeah.
So is anybody initiating what I just talked about, like changing legislation, or we just sort of wait for it to convert itself?
Yeah, I don't think we have had the opportunity to do that yet. We do have quite a collective of people working on recovery planning, and that is really closely linked with government, through to the Minister of Finance and the cyclone recovery that are in Cabinet. And look, we can escalate things. That's the job that we can do. So hear from you, note it down, which we'll do, and escalate it. But I can't, I'm sorry, I can't offer you
Sorry,
more
there's one
than
more
that tonight.
question there, and then we'll have to move on. Sorry, Raina, but can you talk after?
You've been in the circumstances to change legislation. What about Christchurch?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's what I said. I don't think we haven't had the
You haven't
opportunity.
had the opportunity to change it, but you've had Christchurch, which is a catastrophe even bigger than this one.
Correct, yeah.
Wouldn't that pop you up to actually look at something at that
Well,
stage?
I think there was, like the TAS system was stood up during, in response. Things were stood up. This is quite a unique sort of a situation what's happened here. Yep, it was, yeah. I know, all too slow for you,
Or is
right?
it just another government department who, you'll back yourselves up, but do bugger all for the people out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, I'm sorry that you feel like that.
Well,
Try and talk to you later.
We're nearly a quarter of the way through, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll catch up with you later on.
So we'll hand over to Sandra and Don. Are you still? Don, are you?
Good evening, Mayor Sandra Hazelhurst, and I have our Hastings District Council team here tonight. We have Craig, who's going to talk about waste collection, and Bruce is going to talk about rates remission. and Bex about the community hub that will be here over the next week from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So, this is, we know that Pakowhai matters, and we will keep coming here and making sure that you have the answers that you need as we go through. And can I just acknowledge the frustration and the heartache, and just acknowledge the hard stuff that's going on out there in your community. And can I also just say thank you to the Lions for providing those great sausages tonight. And to the team who I saw in here on about week 2, cleaning up our beautiful old Pakowhai hall. Well, you've done a great job, and it's amazing to be back in here tonight, and I know how hard you worked that day. I'm talking about a couple of things that you've asked us. One is about managed retreat or red zoning, and the other one is about vehicles, getting them picked up off the road. So the vehicles, for those that are insured, spoke to the Insurance Council today to say please get the vehicles from around our district picked up. They're finding a place to take them to at this stage, and some of the third parties or uninsured vehicles will probably be the responsibility of us, of council, because they're just going to be left there. For the insured vehicles, obviously the insurance companies will deal with them. So we're trying to get them away from the sites around our region as fast as we possibly can. So that is a collective effort, and it's certainly a priority that we've raised today with the Insurance Council. The other part is that you've been handed out a sheet which talks about managed retreat that we know as it is. So today we had a meeting with the Task Force Recovery Manager for New Zealand, Mr. Brian Roach, and looked at the process going forward. And I must say that the most important part is that you have your say in any process. And that was a message that was strongly portrayed to Sir Brian Roach today. That is you telling the story. So at the moment what is happening is all the data is being collected in the high-risk areas, in the areas that have had their homes assessed, and collecting that data to understand where the impact was. So that, with the Insurance Council, with councils, with Hastings District Council for the home assessments, for the Regional Council with flood protection, all this information where the flood maps are will be fed into a group which starts on Friday, and that data will be collected, and from that there will be a prioritisation of what areas are looked at first. So that is the process going forward, and as you've heard from Minister Robertson, that process will make sure that we have the community's views amongst it. And the process must, I don't know what it looks like yet, so I can't tell you if it's a town hall meeting like this. That's what we're waiting to find out, but that's the feedback that I need from our communities. And Puki Tapu last night, they know what they want their processes to be, so we have to feed that into this machine, which is called the Task Force Recovery, which is led by the government, because there's 6 regions that are going through this regional recovery at the moment. So, but the region is picking up those points like you just said about how do we do this better. And so, that is now a regional recovery plan. We've got Kiriana Brooking, who is our regional manager, and there is a board that's been stood up. And that board will be fed into our regional leaders' Matariki governance, and decisions and priorities will be made for our communities through that direction. So I know it probably can't come fast enough to you, but I think that we have to make sure that we do this process really, really well, and we capture people's views, and we make sure that we have a transparent process, that every part of the information is captured, rather than just rushing off and making quick decisions on the fly. We know this is your home. We know it has been your home for many, many decades for a lot of you, and we had to do this really, really well and really carefully. So that's probably enough from me, but I'm happy to take any questions, but I'll hand over to Craig that's dealing with waste. Lady down the back.
The timeline?
So months rather than years is and
12 months or like
well, I'm hoping less, because all this data will be collected this week. So the data has So our assessments have been completed for the assessments of homes and property. The Regional Council are working on all their modelling and mapping, stock banks and protection, and the insurance councils have pretty much got around all their clients. So that's about 13 insurance companies that were on the Zoom meeting today with us to identify where the high-risk areas are.
There's a question right at the back.
Okay.
How come you guys don't come out and see us personally to every single house? And instead of sitting in your offices, come out and talk to us personally as individuals instead of just doing a meeting like this. How about you guys come out and see us personally and see what our views are, so we can tell you, then you can relay that back as our addresses.
Yeah, and that might be the best way for us to get round. And if I think about Hastings District, we're talking about, we could probably manage, we've got about 1,000 households. And that goes from Tongoyo in the north, all around Esk, down to Twaiford, Puketapu, Pakowhai, did I miss one? Dartmoor Valley, Patoka, Rissington. So yes, we'll try to get round everybody, and we've got a database now of every one of our 1,000 households that we can actually make contact with you directly and see how things are, see what your needs are and what your views are.
Can I just say on that subject, can everyone please make sure that your contact details have been captured before you leave, because that's the next step for this community. Some of us believe is that we can sort of unify and get our communications a bit better. And now that they're starting this next step that Sandra's explained, it's going to be really important that we have everyone's details.
Yeah, we did. Thank you, Troy. We
lost questions down the back.
We lost a few people because they were staying in town with friends and family, and it's up to, we need to get how we can contact you, see how you what your thoughts are and how you're getting on. Hawke?
Yeah, so I think the problem with the process that you're talking about is it's still people talking at us. And so we need somebody in the process. We need an advocate sitting down, working through the process, that's somebody that we can trust and rely on, rather than a bureaucrat coming to us and saying, this is how it is.
Yep, totally agree. I think that, what would work really well, we've seen already set up, and I've had a presentation in Omahu today from our marae community. They've set up a team of navigators from that community. So, if we had a set of navigators in each one of our communities that we work with, I think that's a great scheme. And all those ideas is actually, we need you to tell us how you want this process to run. We don't want to tell you how we can capture your views.
At the back and then down here, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, mate. I'll go first or what's next.
Certainly, sir.
My name is Mike Brown. I live in Sissons Road. Now, you guys are advertising on the radio that dust is so dangerous and to wear masks and everything. You have truck and trailer loads of stuff coming from the river mouth down Sissons Road, down Brookfields Road. I don't know, 10, 15 trucks and trailers a day. There's nobody's wetting around. Well, they did the first day and it caused mud everywhere. From then on, they left the roads dry and just caused a stream of dust. Now, we're living down there, so can you guys slow down and drive like decent people?
Okay, that's a really good message to our contractors. Thank you. We'll take that back, and the team are writing that down right now. Lady down the back.
We've sort of touched on it, how you propose us to get in contact with you, but you've got this task force set up, and you're saying that we have to get into contact with you.
No, we're going to get in contact with you. We've now gathered up a database of 1,000 households.
The question is how, because 95% of us aren't in our houses. We can't live there. So how are you going to get in contact with us without sending someone way down the echelon in the council to ask us a survey on the phone that we're not talking to the people that are making the decisions? And if those poor people are going to be the brunt of us and they're only trying to do their job, so how are we going to get our message across without filling in another form?
So now that we've collected up the names and addresses and contact numbers of every household through our home assessments, we are going to pick up the telephone and ring you. And our comms team are working on that plan right this moment. It's taken us nearly 6 weeks to collect everybody, and find you all and where everybody's staying and what their contact details are.
So will that be the same person that rang last told us that we've got our 4th instalment not paid, we don't have to pay, but we have to pay.
No, that will be a different person in the rates.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that poor person couldn't answer those questions. So the person that you're going to get to ring us all is going to be in the same position. So we're going to feel even more helpless, frustrated and miscommunicated.
And angry.
Yeah, no, I understand. So we've got our Deputy Chief Executive here today is working with the comms team, and they are going to be the point of contact for you, and they're going to contact you, and they're going to have all the information you need, whether it's waste, whether it's rates remission, and that is the way we're going to communicate going forward, because we can't get to everybody into the hall meetings, because some people, aren't in contact. I know I've got a family living in Otani at the moment. They can't get up here, so people are dispersed everywhere, and that's the way we think that we're going to best communicate, is actually having somebody that knows all the information and makes phone calls.
So can we take 2 more questions to Sandra and then we'll move on?
Coming to the rates remission in a minute.
That's okay, but the thing is, you just said you've got all our addresses, all our phone numbers. We shouldn't be filling any paperwork out for rates emissions and stuff. We should be just getting them now.
Big time.
Bruce is going to talk to you about how to
logged into those things. We should be filling out paperwork every day. Most people have still got to have a job, and then we've got to sit at night, write out paperwork to give to you guys, and there's no guarantee.
You can drive around and work out what house is not livable.
Yeah, you guys have got that. None of us are living in our houses.
So can I just tell you, I think there's about 30% of email addresses we've got, not 100%. So we still have to make that phone call.
You got a phone call.
Yep. You must have a list of the yellow and red stickers. Like you must have a list.
Yes, we have. We've got a list of the addresses. We just need to have the phone numbers so we can make contact with you either by email, 30%.
The contact comes for the rates demands.
Can we just put our hands up, please? There's one over here.
Thank you.
Last one for Sandra.
We could please have a list of who's on the task force and what roles they're going to play, so that we can understand what decisions are being made and potentially who can front us as a community to let us understand the process and where the decisions are coming from.
Yes. Absolutely, and that will be available in this community hub for you from 10 till 6 for the next week, with all the list of all the people that are going to be. They haven't all been announced, I think, yet, and but they're just working through that. So yeah, there's going to be a list of people. They're going to be a board, but what we need to do is get a community navigator system set up, and that's the way I think is going to be the best way to capture the views, because already we've got leaders from every community standing up saying that they want to represent their communities, and the community are happy and trust them to do that. So that is the way forward, and it's about making sure that instead of trying to get everyone into a hall like this, is actually get direct approach.
So on there, I just want to reiterate the context, leaving your contacts before you leave. So that's the Pakowhai community, gathering those. It's not the council. We're going to try and do in one night what the council hasn't been able to do in 6 weeks. So please don't leave without leaving your contact details.
Just a little question about rates. We had a revaluation of the whole pay.
Oh, Bruce is going to talk about revaluation, and so.
We're going to talk about that, are they?
Yep.
Yes.
Is it true?
Number 4 on the agenda.
Values aren't being used, and they may not be.
Yep, I'll get Bruce. Well, we'll change rates and waste around. We'll start with you, Bruce. Thank you. Bruce Allen, our Deputy Chief Executive.
Good at all. So yeah, on the rates for emissions, so council does have a rates for emission policy. What council's done to date is said if your house has been red stickered, we've automatically taken note of that, and the 3rd and 4th instalments have been remitted and are not required to be paid. If your house has been yellow stickered, the opportunity is to apply for a remission, and I hear what you're saying, but our knowledge of the properties that have been yellow stickered at this time relate to a building on that property has been yellow stickered, not necessarily the extent to which that property is lived in. So that's why we ask individuals to make contact with us. There's a simple form to fill out. I've got some copies here if you want to talk after the meeting.
What happens
happens if we just don't pay? We can't use our land, we can't live in our house, we just don't pay.
Can we just have one at a time?
Why aren't you driving down the road, seeing the water damage, seeing what has happened to our homes, instead of making us go and fill a form in? Our homes are money around. They are buggered. Nobody can live in their homes.
Susan?
I'd like to say that probably 95% of Pakowhai has been yellow stickered. Now ours was yellow stickered at 2.5 metres of water through at the roof. I doubt that there is anybody in Pakowhai that is living in a yellow stickered house. They're unlivable.
And we totally accept that. And the issue that we've got is that on some properties, and yes, it's the home that's been yellow stickered, totally, and that property will have its rates remitted for the balance of the calendar of this financial year. But if there's buildings on properties that aren't the main dwelling, and they're the ones that have been yellow stickered, that's the clarification that we're just trying to draw.
Well, we've got 45 acres down Allen Road, the whole length of it. So that's our orchard, our houses, it's our livelihood. All of it is unusable. You can't get any income off the land, and none of us around here, so why, if it doesn't have a main dwelling on it, but it is their source of income, they're not going to have an income for a long time to actually generate rates. So, you know, in this particular situation, it really needs to be looked at that, yeah, I understand red stickers, that's it, that just means you can't live it. Yellow sticker just means 60 to 100% of your home is being damaged and you have limited access during daytime, and that's it. Not living in it, it's just access.
Yeah, I understand, and part of the next step of the process that council needs to work through is understanding the broader impact of the cyclone on properties, not just yellow and red sticker properties. So, yeah, this is a bigger picture from, like Mayor Sandra was talking about, from Tutera all the way through our district, is understanding the impact on property, not just buildings that have been red and yellow stickered. It's much bigger than that, and we accept that, and there's a lot more work that needs to be done to work that through.
So we are talking Pakowhai here, flatland, we are in the Pakowhai law. So what applies to Tutera or what applies to Estelle, this is Pakowhai community you're talking to, it's flat land. The water came through. You look, the one house that was on stilts, please. Yeah, that's the lucky one. Anyone on stilts here? No. End of story. The next thing is, you're talking about task force and something else. People's money is run out. Okay? Their bank is not going to stand by forever and saying, oh, the council has formed a task force, that's really nice to hear. The security value has gone down because it's counted, well, you can't sell it. So the decisions that this community has to face are brutal. So a holding pattern that is sort of being talked about is no reassurance at all. And the next thing that's going to be is a crisis at Te Whatuora with the first people that have crumpled and thought the only answer for me at 55 is to hang myself.
Exactly. Well, I also can't believe it's taken 7 weeks to make a task force. I thought this was done, but this is...
No, they got copied it, right?
Sorry, there's one at the back and then one here. One right at the back.
We take top money for our rates. We pay more than town. So why are we still having to pay rates if we've been flooded and affected? We can't even get our drains done over 15 years down Chestnut Road. Until we arced up and I said I was going to put it in the middle of the road, and the council go, you can't do that. Then on the Friday they're down there doing the drains. We pay rates to do that sort of stuff. Those drains were done, we would have washed down a bit better. But we're paying top rates. So why are we paying rates? You guys should just give us a break and let us not have rates for a year. Be realistic about it. We pay top rates. Give us a break. We've gone through shitloads of stuff. Give us a break for a bit.
actions, not words.
I'm Howke from 40 Hobson Road, wiped out like the rest of us. We've had a vote, the people of Pakowhai, 90% do not want to be red stickered or red zoned or red anything. Okay? That decision has already been made. What we've got to do is clean up and get back to work. And we don't want councils and EQC and government standing in our road. Insurance needs to pay up.
You tell them. You tell them.
I will.
Anyone else with a hand up?
We want recycling bins.
Lindley?
In all seriousness, we've been here since 1999, and the rubbish that we got picked up, which was our whole entire house and everything in it, was the first rubbish collection that we've ever had in that time, including recycling. We do our own sewage, own water, everything.
So what are we angry for?
So that's why we're angry about the rates, is because we finally need stuff done, and we have to fight for it. I spent a whole day on the phone begging for someone to pick up my whole house almost. And it's not you, Bruce, it's the person on the phone that has not a clue about it.
Yeah, sorry,
She had no context of how big the rubbish was and that I could not put it roadside. And then I got offered a skip bin. A skip bin. You know me, I'm a collector of all things. Everybody that knows me knows that a skip bin is a joke. And most rural properties would have been the same, and to have no understanding of that was really, really frustrating. And this goes on for more things. It's just have an understanding. We're rural properties. We need help with this stuff. And we don't ask for help easily.
We know that.
Just another little point, and I know dog registration is different, but I rang the council, Hastings District Council, asking for replacement dog tags because ours floated away, and I was told I had to pay. And I didn't mean for the tags to float away. I told them our situation. I still haven't got any, and now the dogs are in town, and I'm worried that they'll somehow get out of the sort of puckery gates we've put up.
John, well,
come
and see me
afterwards. I'll get you.
I hadn't even thought of that yet.
Thank you.
Another question down here.
Come and see us later.
So I live at the end of Allen Road, so my property borders the stock bank. I pay almost $2,000 a year regional rates for stock bank maintenance is most of that. Where did my money go? $2,000 a year.
Hi, my name's Chris Dolly. I'm the Group Manager for Asset Management for the Regional Council, and we look after all the flood control. So where do those rates go? So in terms of Helatonga and Upper Tuki flood control schemes, we spend about $4 million a year maintaining those schemes, and it goes into mowing, spraying, and a whole raft of other activities. In terms of the pump stations, electrical, mechanical maintenance, and general grounds maintenance. So that's what it pays for. The standard of the protection delivered by the Helatonga scheme is 1 in 100, which means in any 1 year, on average, there's a 1% chance that a rain event will exceed the design capacity of the scheme. In 2015, the Regional Council, in consultation with the community, agreed to upgrade the scheme to a 1 in 500 year level, and we're progressively working on that. But the majority of the scheme is at that 1% level of protection. So all of those rates are spent on the stock bank. It's a targeted rate scheme. It's 70% funded through targeted rates and 30% funded through general rates. So all of that money goes to the scheme. It's not spent on anything else. Any under expenditure in any 1 year goes into a reserve, which is then spent in future years on the scheme if we were underspent, for example.
This doesn't include putting pathways on top,
So no, the pathways are funded through MB funding for that specific activity, and they're totally funded. In fact, even the repairs are funded through MB as well to the cycle network.
Can you please tell me what the plan is between the Miani Stock Bank and the Nararai, and is there a better plan coming forward that they don't join and drown us?
Double bank it to the sea, both rivers.
Yeah, so at the moment we are repairing all our stock banks back to the way they were to give some immediate
To drown us?
to give some immediate security in terms of flood protection to the original scheme. Over the next 12 months we'll be reviewing the scheme. One of the challenges of this event is due to the event vastly exceeding the design capacity of the scheme. We basically had uncontrolled exceedances, overflowing of the scheme everywhere, and that did result in water collecting down in Pakowhai before it blew out at the confluence.
So what about the stream by wall that stops here and our land hasn't even got a stop bank on it, and when this flood started it was just coming up through our houses because there's no stop bank around our property. It stops here, it starts here at the wall and stops before Fernie Station, and we don't get any on our property at all. And it just came up for our property.
So that's correct. The stop bank on the Turakuri Waimari is an old scheme asset that's been decommissioned, and it's not continuous. And one of the things we're thinking about is should that be reinstated, because it will provide a level of protection to the community here.
Over here.
There was talk, I'm hoping it's only talk, because someone said that there was a decision to blow the bank. Is that correct or not? Are you guys just hiding from that?
No, not absolutely hiding, so I can tell you all about that. So there is a section of stop bank downstream from Waiheke Marae, and that's been constructed so it has a spillway segment, so it's not about blowing it up.
That wasn't the question. Did you guys blow the bank and not send contractors out to dig the bank away to relieve the pressure so Napier and Taradale wouldn't be hit?
So that's what I'm explaining. So that section of stop bank is downstream from Waiheke Marae at cross section 19 in the scheme. It has a spillway in it that can be removed with an excavator.
Did you do it?
No. So an excavator was mobilised to give us that option.
Okay, so that was at what time? 6 o'clock I was told, correct?
So that was early in the morning, yeah, about 6 or 7 o'clock.
How many people in this room did you ring that day to tell them to get out because we're making a mistake?
So the response was that it wasn't done.
Yeah, but the thing was,
had
intention to do the job, and then that contractor never got there in time and it burst. But you had intentions of sending them. Would you not notify people? People's lives at risk and don't even tell them. I hope you sleep good at night.
You let us drown. Basically,
I hope
you
you
let us
sleep
drown.
good. Hope when you cuddle your wife and that you feel the same as all us people here going through this trauma that you've created, but just not telling people.
So to be clear, the decision was not made to do that, and I stand by that, and I would like everyone to know that there was no decision, and so hopefully... That's right, we sent lots of contractors out to do lots of things.
And one was to do that.
But if you do that, why don't you send other people to say to these people?
I'm happy to answer questions one at a time.
I've got a question. The problem with these stock banks is they're built to a certain capacity and you're limited on how big you can build them by money and other things. So when your stock bank gets to capacity, it spills over and scours out and you get 100% failure because it just rips it open. Can you use HDPE liner and make spillways on them? So when your stock bank gets to capacity, it then starts to spill over and you might only get 10% of the water spill over, the other 90% still goes to sea. The integrity of your stock bank stays intact, and if we got 10% of that water we would have got 300 mils. But because the stock banks scour out, we get the whole lot. So is that an engineering thing we can look at?
So yes, so we are looking at options. So as I said, we're spending the next 12 or so months to review how the scheme operates, so that in what we call an over-design event, it would behave in a known way. And so having spillways and other areas is part of that part of that solution group set.
Very good. Okay, so we've got 4 hands up here. We'll just have those 4, sorry, and then we'll move
I
on.
actually want to speak, Troy, you can't, because you don't have to say it all about it. This is the official statement from your Facebook page where you have stated your plan, and there's some area where there's no threat to human life or property. Where's that magical area?
Yeah, where is it? Because
It's
it was
right
one
here
house,
because
then-
there's people here and there's property.
So I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, this is off
There was
the
acknowledgement
Hawke's
on
Bay
Facebook.
Regional Council Facebook page.
Okay, Facebook post. So as I will say, and I'll say again, there was no decision to open the stock bank.
And that'll stand up
What
to
was allowed
official
regular explosions
information
all
that's
afternoon.
scrutiny.
There were loud regular explosions all afternoon. That my 15-year-old and my 17-year-old kept questioning me what they were. We were up there all day listening to it. We heard the bridge go. I kept saying they're transformers, and then it got too deep. There was no way it was transformers after that. Getting into the afternoon, it was no way. There were loud, regular explosions.
Why don't you guys
Okay,
phone up, pay up, and let's get on with it.
Let's talk to that. That was a question.
That was the question. What were they?
Answer the question, please.
So was the question, were explosives used?
Regular explosions that happened all afternoon. All afternoon, from about 11 o'clock onwards. I was there all day.
Was Red Cross counting the money?
So I can't
I was
comment.
not the only one that heard them. There were other people there that heard them too.
I can't comment specifically what those explosions were. I can tell you they were not from the regional council. If there's a view that we somehow blew up stock banks, we did not do that.
Hey, listen, okay, it doesn't matter whether you blew the bank or you didn't blow the bank. Why did you only tell Taradale and Jervistown people to evacuate?
Sorry, I have to interrupt.
Why not us?
I'm going to
No.
go back because it does matter.
Sorry,
what
Amy, you
we're gonna
have to
do.
talk constantly.
If we're going to build, we need to know that we're safe to build here. That's why we need to know that that didn't happen or that it couldn't happen. Because if we...
Well, that's enough, please.
It's enough. I want to know why, in all your wisdom, you told Taradale and Jervistown to evacuate, but not the people between the rivers. Never once. Even when the river was up that high on their house, you're still not telling us a damn thing.
Could put a helicopter up there pretty easy.
Yep.
Can you just answer the question? That was the question.
Can I have an answer, please?
Yes, you may have an answer. So on that morning, I guess everyone was overwhelmed by what was happening.
Can we just let him answer the question, please?
So we had all of the EOCs of all the council, different councils, the 5 councils across the region. We had issues of flooding all the way from Wairoa down to Pakowhai and inland. In the early hours of the morning, we lost large components of our telemetry system that gave us the information about what the rivers were doing.
I'm aware of that.
Early in the morning, we also put people on the rivers to try and tell us what was happening. Progressively, we lost phone reception and sending messages was very difficult.
You have 3 days. This wouldn't happen overnight. This was 3 days coming from Auckland. Where were you people? It wasn't an earthquake. It didn't just happen at the snap of a finger.
We still had
Where
police
were you?
at the end of bloody Brookfield Road telling people not to go down there. Why didn't they tell us to fucking get out then?
Yeah, so I cannot answer all of your questions right here and right now, but it all will come out when we look at this in detail.
We need people in your job that know what to do.
So can I ask a question that you're going to be rebuilding these stop banks? So that going forward, that's what you're going to do. You're going to do this 1 in 500 year stop bank, but it's going to take 12 months, 24 months. It does. I understand it does.
You can't raise the bridges.
But how are you going to keep us safe? Our home was under 6 metres of water. They were driving jet boats over our roof to rescue the people on Pakowhai Road, and they didn't even know our houses on Gilbertson Road were there. How the hell are you going to stop that happening again? Because you'd be looking for us out in the bloody Pacific Ocean if we'd stayed here.
Yeah. We were civil defence on the night.
We were though.
Yeah, we were civil defence.
So there will be a full review of the civil defence management and the handling of the event. And it will be independent, and then the regional council.
And it bloody needs to be.
I'm Jock, I'm from the regional council too. I just want to say a couple of things really. Your questions are completely reasonable, but Chris, like a lot of the staff, actually a lot of people within our organisation have lost their houses too as a matter of interest, and I've got to say the staff have been working 100% since the event, so they are completely under the pump themselves. I just want to also note within that, we all want a good outcome, and the issue that we've just faced, it would have been mitigated a lot if we'd been able to lift all the stop banks to 1 in 500 year level. Now that's more than $100 million exercise to do that. So, had we gone to any one ratepayer's government or whatever and said, oh, we need another whatever it is to boost the stock banks to that height, we wouldn't have got that money. But we've now got a much better opportunity to get that money than we ever have, because we can go credibly to the government and say, you know what happens when we don't have it, but if we're going to make it happen, we need a bit of money.
It's too late. We've lost all our properties. It's too late for us.
How deep will be when you raise the banks? How deep will the bowl be? Because I sat on the roof until I had 400 mil left on that roof with my family of 5 for 8 hours, and I think it had pretty much stopped rising. But if your stock banks are another metre higher, we're fucked.
So are you going to start dredging the rivers again? Because that's what we need.
People smarter than me will answer that question, but there will be a multiple component approach. So some of it will be high stop banks, some of it may be sacrificial land areas. Bridges were a big component, especially the collecting of trees on the bridges and the water overflow as a consequence of that.
And dredging? You didn't mention dredging?
And that may well be part of the solution.
Because needs to be.
The rivers haven't actually been cleaned for about the last 20 years. So as you've gone, your stock banks have gone up.
Actually, a heck of a lot of shingle has been taken out of the bridges, but what you're describing that is exactly the sort of thing that we part of the review that Sandra was talking about.
Can I have a question, please, for Bruce? Bruce. Sandra has talked a little bit about managed retreat. Now, we know that in Christchurch how that was. They did capitalise on the opportunity of tragedy by the government paid out the difference between what insurance companies paid out and what the current government valuation was for the property. Now, Hastings District Council valuations currently, the ones we all have that we're paying rates on, are dated 2019. Since then, as we know, properties have doubled in price. Does that mean that if we were going to have managed retreat, that we would be using, because my understanding is that the Hastings District Council current valuations, which were done in August 2022, have been called for by the government for an audit, and they're currently being audited. I spoke to the QV people, that's what they told, the information they gave me, and that was after the cyclone. They were asked for an audit. If we look at what's happened in Napier, their valuations have doubled in 2022. So are we going to accept, when we get our new valuations, will they be a true and correct record of ones that were taken in August 2022? Or are they, what assurance will we have that that will be the case?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. So, we were in the middle of our district-wide revaluation as at 1 August 2022. So the process with that, QV is our auditors, our valuers, as you mentioned. Ordinarily, they would have that file, that audit completed, and release the values to you, the ratepayers, around November, December 2022 would have been the timeline. The Office of the Valuer General, I'm getting a little bit technical here, but the Office of the Valuer General audits that file. They weren't satisfied with the level of justification for some of the numbers that were coming through, so they asked QV to do some more work. That happened around December. In March, QV were getting to a point where, February, QV were getting to a point where they had a better understanding and better justification for the numbers that they were going to put forward. February the 14th is a significant event, obviously. It's affected a lot of properties. Where we're working to at the moment, and we are bound by legislation in this space under the Rate and Valuations Act, is that the valuer needs to take into consideration events that have happened from 1 August, the valuation date, to the time that the valuation gets completed, and it hasn't been completed yet. So ordinarily that the valuer would be required to take into consideration the damage that's been caused. Now, before you react, we are working with the Office of the Valuer General, with QV, and with the Minister responsible to get an order in council through government so that the valuer, QV in this instance, do not need to take into consideration the damage that's been caused from this event. Now, there's a process that we need to work through. There's a cabinet paper that needs to be written by the Office of the Valuer General. We're working on that with them. The timeline is that I think by the end of April, the Valuer General will have that cabinet paper written. Cabinet will consider it. There is history here, like the similar process was undertaken in Christchurch and Kaikoura, where government, through an order of cabinet, made that decision that criteria could be removed, whether it's delaying the valuation, which we don't want to happen, because we want the values recognised as they were at 1 August 2022. So that's our process. We're working through that with the Office of the Valuer General at the moment and QV, and we've got confidence that the values that will be released, probably late May, early June, will be the values as at 1 August 2022 without the impacts of this event.
And if they're not, what is the process for us? Because that for everyone in this room, if they're getting managed retreat, that's going to be a case of survival or not.
So the conversations that I've had so far with the Office of the Valuer General, they're quite clear in that they say rating values are just that. It's a mass valuation created for the purpose of setting the rates for a district or a city. They're not designed for a purpose that the government may look at around compensation. The reason for that is that there's 30,000 rateable properties in Hastings District. It is a mass valuation exercise. It's not precise. If we're talking about a number of properties that are affected that may require compensation from the government, it may be a more bespoke valuation process that they work through. Treasury may look at the valuations that come from rate and value and say that's a good indication of what we're up for, cost-wise, but the indications that I've been given so far from the Valuer General is that that's not what you have a rate and valuation for. Not to say that ultimately Treasury could determine that's the value by which they're going to release or pay compensation, which is why we're pushing hard for the values to be set as at 1 August 2022 prior to this event.
Okay, thanks Bruce, that's a good concise answer. I think we can move on from there hopefully. So we've missed Craig, so we'll hop into there, and then we've done the stop banks, we won't go there again, but silt and drains I think we can touch on that a little bit because, yep.
Good evening all, those of you who were here at the meeting down at the school the other day. Just want to give you a quick update just in terms of the household waste. So just in one of the questions that came through from the community, there seemed to be a false fact that the household clean-up stops on the 31st of March. That is not correct. The household collection will stop when the household goods stop coming out of houses. As we've said at the last meeting, the experience that's come out of other cities, it usually takes 3 to 5 rounds of going around for those goods to stop coming out of the houses. Some of you haven't even started tearing your house yet because you weren't ready for it, and that's fully understandable. So we will keep coming around, and if you make contact with us as well, it helps us know that those piles are turning up. We will keep coming around to remove the household flooded goods and ideally if you've got room on your property, we'll come in and pick it off the property rather than on the road because it's much easier for everyone, particularly now as we're getting those drains cleared and the likes. Just also at the last meeting, there were a couple of people who had, prior to council starting the household collection, who had paid a private provider to pick up your household goods. We'll work through those couple of bespoke cases. If there's anyone else in the community who early on got a private provider to pick up flood damaged household goods, see me at the end of this meeting and I'll get your details, or else I'll just get through the hub. We have an online form if you want to book a household cleanup. If you just put your details and address and contact details on that, and note in the comments that you've had paid for it privately, someone will be in contact with you and we will assess whether or not we can help subsidise those who jumped early. But just a reminder that the free collection that we are doing is for household flooded goods, not for the commercial movement of stuff out of the sheds and the business. The approach for that is the insurances that properties have and businesses have are to...
But if you didn't have insurance?
Well, our current approach at the moment and the advice we're working through is on the basis that businesses have taken a call of whether they're insured or not insured as a business expense. Also, as you work through to the point, depending on where you're at in terms of working through with insurers, with lump sum payouts and so forth, the removal of your house or pulling down the house, that is not covered by the household goods collection we're doing. You do need to work with your insurer and a commercial provider to take the demolition of the house away.
Question over here, Deanna, sorry.
Just the other day, on Monday actually, I rang the council. I booked in for my rubbish collection, told them it was on both sides of the road. I'm just down 1924 down here, and we would have blocked all the Pakowhai if we put it out. So we actually, my neighbour Jeff let us put it on the front of his lawn, and all it sitting on his lawn, and took ours away. Do I have to rebook that now, or what?
I'll talk to you at the end of that meeting. Just get your details and get that followed up on.
Thank you.
We just bought 400 bales of hay, was in our hay shed. We were advised to take them out of the hay barn because they're going to catch fire. Now they're all in a pile with our household rubbish and everything. Is that an issue, or?
We're not picking up those bales of hay as part of the household goods process.
Who's going to sort all that out then? Because it's all in a heap.
Yeah, where's the regional council for that
It's
one?
not a business. It's not a business.
So as I said, currently our process to what's happening to that material, those household goods, we've now turned, we take that through, it goes through a massive crusher and goes into the landfill.
Well, the hay bales won't stop that. It'll go through the crusher.
And they're not mine.
Yeah. So currently we're not taking those as part of that collection.
So they'll go out on the road then?
They'll end up in drains.
Yeah. I mean,
well, just in terms of putting the stuff out on the road, ideally if you can keep it in your property and we'll pick it up in there. But if you are, but if you are putting those household goods, and Chris will talk a little bit more around the silk collection, if we can keep it out of the drains, there has been a couple of properties we talked to one of the orchard managers where we just cleaned the drains and someone just pushed all of the tree debris and silk that filled up the drain. Now, obviously, we'll come back in a later round, but it's wasting time, wasting money, but also it puts your own community at risk. So if you can, try not to push stuff and dump it back into those drains that we're trying hard to clear.
Have you talked to those commercial guys? Because I don't think yes, and they're not in conversation with us, and they are upsetting the contractors.
I'm just having a conversation with my team today just around some of the drain clearing work that was making more mess than was worthwhile, so absolutely having conversations with our contractors as well.
Someone dumped a lot down our road yesterday, we don't know where it's come from.
Okay, head back.
We're down Gilbertson Road, as I said before, and our drains down the end, by the river end, they haven't even been cleared at all. Some turkeys came along and put a water blaster through and cleared lumps of rubbish that was in them. But it moved it half a metre away, and then the next bit of rain and stuff that's come, all it's done is fill the drain up, but the drain's still chest deep in water and apples and pumpkins. No one has even been down our road and removed that.
So that might be a regional council drain, maybe?
Well, we're working through them together on that. So, yeah, we are working together on that. So we've got about another week and a half to finish clearing out drains. And we also have a separate process with the jetting working through. And I think, and so the jetters go through and push high pressure water to clear the culverts as much as possible. There's about 56, 57 culverts that we're aware of that we have to do. But as I said at the last meeting, with the amount of silt and with no grass around anymore, every time it rains, this silt's going to keep mobilising. We are going to have to keep coming back to those drains.
So how are you helping, how is the council and the government, and the regional council, how are they helping us owners move that silt? Because we're doing it by hand. Because we have a small lifestyle property. Where is the help?
So I think in terms of on private property, there are a number of pathways in terms of grants through different approaches. And I know just recently there's some discussion around changes to the Merrill Fund and ability for some of the community groups that we're working with.
We'll come and see you at the end. The Kiwi Task Force are here through the Merrill Fund. We're funding summer support with accommodation and fuel and so forth for them to help private households remove silt. So they're a group of volunteers that we're helping to fund their needs.
That's so.
The question needs to be answered because we all actually want to know. Like it's not like if you focus just on this young lady, like actually we all need to know the question what's going to happen with the silt. Like we're all trying to save our trees. Does anybody want to eat apples next season? Do we want any apples or nectarines or anything in Hawke's Bay? The silt needs to be dealt with. All the trees are going to die.
Can I answer that one, please? Okay, so first of all, I will start with, I did yesterday too. I'm your regional councillor from the Hawke's Regional Council, Gerard Van Beek, and I apologise for not being here any sooner. I'm in Twyford. I'm the one orchard that is washed away. Our house is affected like yours. And so I apologise for not being here. I couldn't be here. I was rescuing my business and my house, as you all have too. I'm here now, and I would like to give you that answer the best I can. We don't have all the answers, but I'll try the best I can. So regarding silt, we as a council have put up a hand, possibly maybe a little bit foolishly, but we have put up a hand, and we stand by that we will actually collect the silt from your property. So if you can, please get it away from the drains. If you have to take it out of the drain, if our staff can't get to your drain, and you need drainage on your property, like I've done on my own place, we've actually taken it out of the drain ourselves because our property just wasn't draining. So we've done it ourselves, had to do it. The council just couldn't get there. Make sure when you do that, that you actually get it away from the drain, because when we get winter rains, it could actually end up back in the drain again. So we don't want to do that. So once you've got, can I please answer the question first? Once you then have got that silt piled in a place where we as a council can come and pick it up. And that's an undertaking we have. We will come and pick up that silt. We can't be at every property at the same time, but we try to do our best. Yes?
My question was, how do we get that silt there? Who's helping us on our properties get that silt off our properties so that you can come and pick it up at the roadside?
Okay.
That's my question.
Yeah, okay. No, so if your drain is a council drain, Hawke's Bay Regional Council drain, then we will endeavour to be there to clean that drain out. That's what we all pay rates for, but I've paid rates for.
6 weeks and it's still not done.
I understand it. Like I said before.
But why is Digger parked up down the road on a Sunday? That's not 100%. Get them working on a night shift. Keep going, otherwise get more contractors in. Because it's not fast enough and it's bullshit.
Well, as you heard from Chris before, we've got 13 pods at the moment, 160 people driving machinery.
We need more.
I know we need more, but we try the best we can to actually, we've got stock banks that we need to protect. So the answer of silt, you've got it. If it's a Hastings District Council drain, then hopefully the Hastings District Council staff will be cleaning the drain out. Yes, you first.
What about the army? Like, they're all like fit people. Why are they left? Why aren't they helping us with silt?
I can't answer that one, but maybe the Hastings District Council.
So, two more questions. One from Sue, one from Blue, sorry.
Right, I've got two, actually.
Troy, is that okay?
One is, we've got an orchard, we've got silt, but half of our silt is tangled up with trees and wires and posts as the 2 blocks got ripped out.
Yep.
The rest of it's tangled up with extended A. So we don't actually have silt. My other question is, I put in that letter, could we please be provided with a map of which are Hastings District drains and which are Regional Council drains? Because we're on Allens Road, I do know the one that comes off the far side is Regional Council and it comes off the motorway. But on the other side of Allens Road, from going nearly the length of our property until it joins the Regional Council, there is another drain, and at the moment it's full of silt and half of odorants.
Okay, so I'll start with your last question first. Yesterday at Pakowhai we learned that communications through press releases ain't working, because who actually is going on websites? So what we want to do, and that's my message to you as your councillor, you need to get unified. You need to get organised, because otherwise we as community, we as landowners are going to miss out, okay? You've heard it before. You need to get unified. Your story needs to be told, but you can't do it through a meeting like this. You need to really get people that got vision amongst you to set up a group that actually, us as bureaucrats, call me a bureaucrat, but I'm also a landowner, that we can talk to, especially when we start talking about managed retreat. Anyway, you've got a bulletin board, hopefully, a Pakowhai, either a Facebook page or whatever it may be. We'll endeavour as Hastings District Council and APRC to actually put maps on there so that you can see which drains belong to who, okay? So that's that one question. Then the first question that you asked is actually a really big one. Anyway.
I was going to add on drains. We listened to everyone last time. They said we want to know what drains have been done, what drains are being done next week. So we've all got that online, and you can just pop in, and we're happy to provide hard copies for hubs and things like that. So that's a start. And the same with the stock bank repairs. That's updated a couple of times a week. Where are we working? What jobs have been finished, etc.
Which are Hastings District and which are Regional Council drains?
So we can overlay. We're happy to go away and overlay both sets of drains on one set of drawings. Yep.
So Bill, it's been waiting well.
Well, I've still got one more question here, but that's a big question. So we'll go to Bill, but I'll come back to you first, please. Bill.
I forgot what my question was. I think it's something to do about, as property owners, we are responsible for picking up all the bins and all the graffiti right through our orchard properties. Is that right? We as owners are responsible for doing that. At the present time, I've actually got 3 telephone poles on my property.
Come on, Bill!
You've put the call.
That's not silly.
Before we go back to Duncan, Duncan?
Chair, I've been saying it for the 4th meeting now. We need some coordination, and I hope that the Fruit Growers Association or that someone from the Regional Council might step up and say, like, it would be an unenviable role, but it would save a lot of injustices and inefficiencies with the clearing of silt properties. What's happening now, it's just everyone fighting tooth and nail there, calling a dog eat dog. Someone's got a mate that's got an excavator, so he's clearing the paddock, which would wait for 2 years, compared to, you know how recently developed pip fruit can be $150,000 a hectare. They're dying up by fetches by waterfalls. Is anyone proposing in this task force, which God forbid they tell me it's another 3 weeks before they come up with a plan, while trees are dying because of lack of coordination and all this inefficiency and injustice? Is the task force proposing having someone coordinate the removal of silt from orchards when they finally make up a plan?
So Duncan, unfortunately, I can't answer that one in the positive.
So it's still just dog eat dog out there.
The problem is this big that we can't actually coordinate it. So New Zealand Apples and Pears, from an industry perspective, are on the Heritonga Plains, are leading the charge. When it comes to the question that Sue has got, But silt is our own responsibility, unfortunately, except for when you as a landowner are able to stockpile it and we will take it away. That's the minimum we can do at this stage.
That silt that you said you'll take away, someone said to me the other day that's just around residences, but are you saying, just to get this clarified, you'll take away silt that's got to an accessible heat off the orchards and vineyards?
Yes, so...
I've got 20,000 and I'm routing 4 trucking trailers a day. That's about 2 years' work on my little 10 hectares.
Yeah, so if it's a certain depth, then it's uneconomical to remove that silt. And we've got orchards in that situation. They've already made a decision to pull the whole orchard out, leave the silt where it is, but work it up in such a way that actually can be cropped again. Today I talked to 2 large cropping organisations.
Do you know what depth that is, mate?
We've talked to. It depends on a little bit on the value of the orchard that you've got. So if it's all old rural Gala, pull it out, okay? And that's up to 300, maybe even less. But if, for instance, if you're a rocket grower and you've just paid 180 for a per hectare license, you're going hard out to remove that silt, even up to 1/2 metre, and that's been done. So that's the decision you as a landowner needs to make. We can't make that for you.
If I remove my silt and my neighbours don't, do I sell my full passes?
I know what you're saying.
That's why I haven't started, because I'm just going to end up like a swimming pool with the neighbours don't.
I know what you're saying.
And I know one of them isn't going to do it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and we hope that our drainage system, once it's cleared, and I don't know it's going, I know it's not going fast enough, that should do the trick.
No, it won't. The drains aren't in my property.
Okay, we're going to have to move on here. Sorry, Rob, can you...
Sorry, Troy, just...
Jeff, can you catch up with Robert afterwards?
Yeah. So, Troy, just to add to that, I'm advised that currently Cabinet have coming out a paper around which may create a funding stream to actually help pay for the removal of silt on private property. I know it's late for all the effort that's going in, so we're working hard, pushing for that. As soon as we know about that, we will get that communication out and work out the most easiest way to access it as a community-wide approach. So we're not in control of that, but we're pushing hard for it, and hopefully there's a decision out of Cabinet soon.
Right, thank you.
It's quickly becoming academic as the young rootstock trees die.
Yeah, I fully understand, and it's all about timing, and I've really pushed this very hard. So coming back to your question, which to me is the really hard one, and that's sort of wood waste. We've got 2 streams of waste that I'm just not going to cover. One of them is wood waste, so that's just, I was on an orchard yesterday in Puketapu. The whole orchard is flattened right next to the Tukuri. I was there a week ago, and the difference between 1 week is already that the willow trees are starting to grow in the whole paddock like grass. It's just incredible. So that's wood waste. So that's not treated stuff. So if you've got any wood waste that is not, that is clear of plastic and wire and tannalised post, that can be put aside and burned. But the hard part is, and you believe me, my orchard is full of mixed waste. And I'm working very hard that we actually get government to see sense, Ministry of Environment, that this is an emergency. And we need to get started really quick and actually pile this stuff up where we can. That's an undertaking that I've given. Where we can, we take tannalised poles out. But the rest, I hope, but I haven't got an undertaking for that yet, that we actually are able to burn this stuff for a very short period, but no guarantees, okay? And I'm working very hard on that. And unfortunately, it will have stuff like Extender in it. I know of orchardists who will never use Extender again because it's going to be such a difficult product to deal with. The modern planting systems with 5 up to 8 wires per tree, it's such a mess. We did a trial on my property just to dissect it. Impossible. We understand that. So the ink is not dry on this yet, and I'm fighting for you hard, and I know that my councillors who are here with me today are likewise. This is something that we are united on, and we need to get cleared very quickly. I've given the date of the 1st of June, maybe with a bit of fudge, 1st of July, but we need to get this land cleared for 2 reasons. We want to get that soil moving again. If we keep silt where it is and the trees are coming out, that soil needs to be moving again.
Window's pretty, because we're going.
It is very short.
Because you're going into winter, you're pushing shit uphill.
So we try, and that's why we need to have this emergency deal with the government, that we can actually pile it up, dry it out, burn it under the conditions. Possibly contractors with blue tick certification who know how to burn, and you won't even know that it's happening. Yes?
I think people know how to burn posts and wire. Yeah. You don't need no blue tick. This seems to be all this bureaucratic crap that's taking so long. I think everybody's getting pissed off with it. That's all I can see.
I understand that. Where we can, we'll take 10 lights post out. That's what we're going for at the moment. Not everybody knows how to burn.
Right, we'll move on.
Really?
Okay, sure.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to another.
Thank you very much. We had a slash pile of wood of willow trees that council cut down to manage the Tutaikuti River, and they left it on the property. That slash wood of willow trees has now ended up on our property at 22 Chesterhope Road. It sits on the paddock. It has destroyed sheds and fences. I spoke to the Minister the Mayor 3 weeks ago. I gave her my contact details. I gave my contact details to this gentleman over here in the blue. We asked him to contact us about removing the wood that should have been removed when council cut down the willow trees. We've got no reply. We've tried to phone council, and once again, no reply. This should be an easy fix. All we ask is for council to come over, have a look at what happened, have a look at the trees for us to move forward. It is not only the silt but the damage that was caused, and I have photos here on my cell phone that I can show as to where that silt was, where the willow trees were initially, and they're no longer there now because they're all on our property. We've had no contact. So how do we move forward?
We'll make sure, and I'd apologise for that. It shouldn't have happened if you've given contact. So tonight we'll actually talk to you, and we'll get that sorted. And maybe, if the pile is too large, we maybe even have to bring in a chipper and actually chip it all. And that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kia ora everyone. Gosh, I'm loud. Kia ora everyone. My name is Jeanette Park. I'm the District Commander for Eastern District Police. Look, Guy, before I say anything, I've got no idea what it's like standing in your shoes. It's incredibly tough, and my sympathies are definitely with you. And listening to you here tonight, my heart goes out to you. It's a tough time for you all. Look, I've come along with my team tonight, and I know that the pressures you're under, the anxiety. I was here late last night, about 9:30 in the area here. I came to see someone, and just feeling the devastation and the darkness and everything that's it's devastating, and so being in there and sort of understanding what it looks like at all hours of the day is what's really important. My team were out last night as well, and they actually stopped me, so that was a good sign. So they had, I stopped and talked to them. They were in and around, just making sure that making sure everybody's safe. They've got their alley lights on, which is the lights that come out the side of the patrol car up on the roof, and you'll see them off their light bar, and so they're travelling around in and around your area. The other thing is I've got with me tonight is also Steve Nicol, which is our prevention manager, who is ownership of here and is looking at, and he will talk to you tonight about the plan around where to from here and what we're going to look around our deployment into the area. We've also got Mike Beatty, who is going to be your community constable. He'll come out, Mike. Come and see yourself. Yeah, so he's going to be your community constable, and he'll be here because I think I pick up on what was being said around, it's getting together actually, because the challenge is these meetings are really hard for everybody to have a turn to speak, and I can see that. So it's actually getting a team of people together. So there's going to be the hubs running, but we want to hear what your concerns are, what our people can do. They're here, they care, and we're going to we'll do our best we can. Kia ora.
Going back to the 14th, Civil Defence let us down, so where were you guys?
So I was here on the ground, and my teams were on the ground. We were also, it's unimaginable. It's what happened. You know, like the volume of water, the devastation. I've had staff come to me and say they stood and looked, and there was houses and cars floating down the river. It was horrific. We were looking, and I can say this, and I haven't said it previously, but I was looking for my own people as well. We couldn't find our people either. The comms, communications were down as well. So our people just ran in. They heard on from wherever, we send out messages saying, well, we need as many people as we can, and they came in to the stations to do what they could. And of course, the big challenge, of course, as you all appreciate, is getting from A to B.
I find the biggest problem I find is Pookie Tap had problems at like 7 o'clock in the morning. We still knew nothing at 11 o'clock.
So look as I say, and I do come back to this, I can't answer everybody's questions around the communications and what went out and what didn't go out. But I think the big thing is it was unbelievable. As you lived it was unbelievable volume. Yeah.
Can I ask a question about traffic? I've got orchard properties here in the East Valley. One of the issues that we're finding during this clean-up phase, because it's still a disaster zone, there's no speed, your speed camera vans. Could you park on it either end of Pakowhai to try and slow the traffic down?
Yep, so I'm glad you raised that. So we've got a van that is here. It's Caroline Martin's over there as well. She's well across that. So we've got a speed camera van that's here. Because I was here last night and my teams were stopping cars, and so did I, because actually people were speeding, and I'm absolutely with you on that one.
And secondary to that, any revenue that you get from the speed camera.
I wish I could. Sorry.
Yeah, I was out here the other night because my dad's Toby was left on, and as he's got a leak in the water tank in the top. Now I saw the cops, they came and spoke to me, they were lovely as, but I could have told them anything and they not know who I was, because I don't actually live here, my family do. But I was out there and they didn't ask for identification to prove who I was. It was 10:30 at night and I could have been anybody saying, oh, I've come to do this, and I appreciate they believe me, but there could have been anybody saying that to me.
Yeah, so the big thing is they stopped you. That's good. Did they not stop you?
The first one,
okay.
and it was with him.
Yeah.
And two male guys got me at 10:30 when I went back to turn the Toby off because of the water blast thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was leaking in the roof. No one actually asked me for ID at all, didn't know who I was,
Okay, so the big thing for me here is that's all we've got to work together.
Yeah.
So if you're a local and you are stopped by our people, talk to them and tell them that that's who you are. And of course I can assure you they definitely will be checking people's registration numbers and asking questions. And we're here tonight, and that's the sort of thing we want to hear, so thank you. Hold on, sorry.
This is lady in the pink here.
Sorry, yeah, Carol.
Yeah, I'd like to ask about pollution. We live down Brookfields Road and there's been batteries stolen, people on property smashing windows.
Okay, so what we want to do, so I'm glad you raised that, because I've got Steve Nichols sitting here eagerly, I can tell, with this piece of paper, and he knows exactly what's going on, so we can pick up with that. Josh, okay.
Just before you do that, can we have a show of hands of those who've actually lost property, so you get a feel for how big this problem is? From fencing.
Okay, so...
Can you keep your hands up because I want to take a picture?
And we're going to take law into our own hands if there isn't anything done.
So I think, look, please. So what's up? Hands up. Okay, look, thank you. And what for raising your hands. And if you've got concerns, I have got got people here now, and they will take your reports. So we want people to step forward. We need to know what's going on, and we also want to hear from Steve, because he can answer some questions around some of the stuff that you're concerned about immediately.
Sorry, before we go to Steve, Gareth, behind you, Lindley, you've had a good crack.
Hi, Gareth.
I've raised this issue both through District Council. I've also spoken with Karen last week. There's only 2 ways into this area.
Yes.
Our issues happen generally at night.
Curfew.
So why doesn't the road get shut at night so no one can come in and out?
Here, here.
So I can speak to this quite clearly. So in an emergency, we can, so national emergency when it's been disaster, we can block roads, okay? But once that declaration is cleared, the blocking of roads sits, it does actually sit with my friends from the council, so it does sit there. But what we want to do is look at what's this is having these discussions around what's the best options and who's moving around and why. So I think that certainly securing of roads sits under that traffic management plan and the council.
Where's the helicopter?
So the helicopter has gone back to Auckland. So it's deployed from Auckland, but yep.
So I just want to go back a little bit to
Certainly.
the comms. So is there going to be a decent review of the comms? Because one of the scariest things for me was getting off a jet boat in waist-deep water on the expressway and the cops had no comms. And they asked me where we wanted to go, and I was petrified and didn't know where was flooded or where wasn't, and neither did they. So is there going to be a review, a decent review on that?
So following a normal procedure in any situation is, and look, this is unprecedented, this certainly will be a debrief, because it's really important to us as well. So we had no cell phone coverage, and also our radios were off and on working. Yes, exactly. But so that will definitely be reviewed, and we'll look at what we can do in the future, absolutely, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Why do we have to say
Oh, sorry everyone, it's really hard to hear.
why do we have to bring 150 to report when they ask questions that they don't even know anything about the district? And she told my husband it'll take half an hour to get all the information. Why can't we have a local number for Luton?
So did you ring the 10-5 and then go through the line? That's you push 6, okay. That wasn't working for you. Come and I'd like to talk to you about it. So come see me afterwards, that'd be great. Thank you. Do we want to hear from Steve about the plan for the area? I think it'd be really important. I think we do. Yeah. Steve, tell me the plan. Cheers.
Thanks very much. Hi everyone, Steve Nicol. I'm, as the boss says, I'm the community manager. I'm not normally told that I'm quiet. So. Look, the district commander has covered some of the things I was going to speak to you about. I'll just recap a couple of things from the last meeting. Two of the main things that came out, which we touched on already, were the people cutting through Gilbertson and Gilligan when the traffic was bad and using it as a bit of a rat run. So I've done some liaison with the council, and I see that there's been some blocks put in to try and prevent that from happening. So, yeah, thank you for that. The other thing was the speed, and we've touched briefly on it. There was a speed camera today, and I'm reliably informed it stopped or it photographed or took the speeds of 1,802 vehicles in the 3 hours it was here. Interestingly enough, most people were largely compliant, and the highest speed was 53 kilometres an hour, which of course is more than the 30k limit, so they'll be dealt with accordingly. But hopefully the presence and the work that we've done on the speed enforcement is having a positive impact. I'll also talk a little bit, so you mentioned previously around the trucks and the dust.
our staff have been noting the companies, the trucking companies that are using the road, and we've been contacting them and pleading with them to explain to their drivers why they need to slow down, because it's the trucks in particular that are creating the larger amounts of dust. So that's just another thing that we've been trying to do to minimise that impact on you as well. If we move on to crime, obviously I saw the hands raised there, and in the last meeting I asked you please to tell us if you had any issues with crime, so thank you for doing that. The reason I wanted you to do that, as I mentioned at the time, was so that we could get a really complete picture of what's going on. We know over the last 2 weeks in particular there has been a spike in crime, so we've made some adjustments already to try and combat that. One of the things, as the Mayor mentioned, is we're going to have the mobile police space, which has been here. We're going to have it here all week between 10 and 6, and that will allow, hopefully, for some of you to come and report anything that you haven't already reported to us. The other thing that we're going to do is have a dedicated vehicle in the area 24 hours a day. The difference to our normal or our previous patrolling pattern, which has been ad hoc patrols, albeit 24 hours a day or on all shifts, and we're actually going to have a vehicle based here that won't leave the area for that whole time. We have had staff from a variety of different places. We've had our out-of-town staff, some of whom are here, and I know they've been coming in and speaking to you while you've been working on your property, so hopefully you've seen them and they've provided you with some reassurance. But I did say to you that I didn't want you to have to worry about your property, and I'm sorry that we haven't been able to prevent that in totality, and that some of you have lost property, and we are working really hard to try and make sure that we can minimise that in the future. Yes.
So going forward, it is my understanding that the police monitor CCTV cameras, which we currently don't have. Yet we're under the Hastings District Council, and all the towns have these new cameras. That's the way going forward. What are the chances of that being put into the plan going forward with the Hastings District Council, as well as the police then monitoring it? That is my understanding that I've spoken to a few people. Because we pay rates for these things as well. And so we don't have any surveillance yet.
Look, it's like an interesting point, and we raised that today. So what we're looking at in our meeting is looking at whether we can put some portable cameras in. We're just actually getting some costings around it.
So we've got 13 minutes. It would be good for everyone to be able to go home. So, and we've got another.
Yep. So we're on to that. So thanks for raising it. We're good to cover.
So one more, Gareth. Sorry. Yep. Quick one.
The dog and the bone on this one, around this road. I'd rather have the ambulance at the top of the cliff than at the bottom of the police car. Put it that way. So if you can stop them coming in, isn't that the easiest way to do it? You have to have your car doing its patrols within, but if you know that no one can get in there in the first place because it's blocked off by someone monitoring each end, and it doesn't have to be the police. I understand your guys' resources are stretched. There's people parked on the Farnham Road stopping people scoot through there at all hours of the day. I don't understand why that can't be done so that I can go to bed at night and not be stressing my ass off because I'm worried about someone turning up and ripping all the gear out of my shed. Yeah. The only stuff I've got left. And what about when we start rebuilding? We've got houses partly built, we've got our machinery, we've got the new stuff, it's all great, but hey, someone else comes in and takes it all. I've got no electricity on the property, I can't run any security, I've got nothing apart from a padlock on my gate.
I hear your frustration.
What I really want to say, in this room right now, we've got the people that make the decisions, we've got our police, district council, sort it out, stop it, just get rid of some of the stress for us. It'd be really helpful.
Sorry.
We'll talk about that between us and see if we can come up with a plan for that.
Just as a, when people keep saying about roadblocks, can you not have just a stop where you just have to slow them down and there's someone standing there? Like, you could just have say you can do a little bit of roadworks, because they seem to be able to stop the road for that. So if you just have a little bit of roadworks done, then you can stop people at the end of the road, and then people have got to get through somewhere.
Well, why on earth has Farndon Road got 2 people being paid to stand on it so that we don't use that road?
Yeah, I can't
That's
answer that.
ridiculous.
I don't know.
That's
Why Farndon Road is being blocked off?
So Farndon Road is an activity that Waka Kotahi are doing to deal with congestion on State Highway 51 at Clive. But those options around a further putting the blockade down on down by Expressway Landscaping to match there, they're all conversations that we were having with Jeanette and the team. So I hear you, Quint, around the potential around whether we can create some form of block where the only way in is from Brookfield Roads just here and then block those sites. Blocking Pakowhai Road is just not an option in terms of the wider view, but we'll carry on working with the police. In terms of the cameras, the other trick for that is we have to light the area up. The cameras don't work particularly well without a lot of lighting apart from the special police ones.
Yeah, I think we might have found some that might be able to. Yay!
Okay, sorry, Stephen, cut in there. Have you got anything more particularly to say?
Oh, look, probably the only other thing is, obviously time's short, we'll be around afterwards, so if there's any questions that we haven't managed to answer now, please come and see us afterwards. If you can't do that for any reason, then obviously we're going to be here from 10 till 6 for the next 7 days.
Thanks. I just in conclusion, with the policeman in front of us, is the 111 dialling system still effective? Is it still operating?
Yes, not very well.
It is?
Not very well.
Not very well?
No.
We had 4 shots at it before we were taken off the roof of the helicopter. But I had 4 shots at 111 during those periods of time, probably over 4 or 5 hours. And I'm not really sure to this day whether in fact 111 was saying that we were standing on our deck or whether there wasn't. And the last call I had to 111 was, well, where are you now? And I said, we're on the 2nd story. And she said, oh, you just have to go to higher ground.
Did you get your name, Bob? Thanks, Dave. So I'll introduce our next guest tonight. This is Lou Parsons, and I met her on Sunday night at Esk, and she's been doing a fantastic job over there doing all sorts, along with Quint, who spoke earlier, and Mel somewhere. These guys have come into our community to help us, and it's part of what we're doing with collecting their contact details. And someone made a point before, Jeff as well, about getting the community together and doing our own thing and not relying on everyone else to come to us. We need to go to them. So Lou, it's all yours.
Hi everyone. As Troy said, my name's Louise Parsons, Lou, most people call me, and probably Mel and Quinn have done way more than me, but I've probably focused more on crime and looting because I'm from Whirinaki and my whole neighbourhood has been devastated, but the beachfront properties where I live weren't. And one thing I know is that when you guys are suffering, you need a strong voice that can speak up for you because you've got enough to deal with. And what I identified in our community was that people were really frightened, you know, because of the crime that was happening and the looting. People couldn't sleep. It was absolutely frightening for them. So I took it upon myself to have a meeting, organise a meeting where we could invite police, but I also got politicians there too, and I got a lot of media there. And that's the secret ingredient, I have to say, is the media, because we've got to let the rest of New Zealand know what's going on. And we talked about all of the things that you guys are talking about now, and the police responded immediately. So 2 weeks into the disaster, the next day we had the police caravan deployed. We had the 105 number made into a 105.6, so you can dial another number. I know it's still not perfect, but there was a bit of action taken. We gave the politicians and the police and everyone else 3 weeks or 4 weeks to come up with some plans for us. And in the meantime, we were told by the new Minister of Police, who took over from Stuart Nash, that there was no spike in crime during this time. So, speaking of dog with the bone, that's me. So I'm not going to go away because crime's not going to go away. I cannot see why the army have not been deployed. I don't understand it, because what could be happening right now with your silt problem is there could be army guys digging that out for you and being a deterrent at the same time for these mongrels that are coming into your communities and robbing your stuff. Now, I put some posts on Facebook and asked if I could have real life examples of things that have happened to you, and I've had a really fantastic response from all communities, so thank you very much. And the reason I need those is because the Minister of Police, who didn't show up to my meeting because it was political, this is a minister, she's a politician, didn't come to my meeting, so I insisted that I meet her when she comes to Hawke Space. So I'm meeting her on Friday. She's the one that said there was no spike in crime, so I'm going to show her that there has been a spike in crime. And also the Assistant Commissioner will be at that meeting too. So again, I'm going to be asking about the Army. I know the police can't fix that because it's not their place, but the politicians can. They can make this stuff happen.
They're just getting a slap on the hand for it when they get caught. So.
Well, that's the I know, and that's another thing. That's the justice system. So that's the revolving door of the justice system that we have in New Zealand, because these guys catch them. These are the good guys. They catch them, and the justice system release them. So it's catch and release, catch and release. So what we need is we do need roadblocks, and instead of saying what we can't do, how about we start saying what we can do? Because what we need is for some people to say, this is what should be happening, this is what we can. Let's get around these roadblocks and make things happen. Because you guys need to be able to sleep, you need to be able to have some protection, and we need to keep these bottom feeders out of our communities. You know, I was interviewed a lot during that time when I first instigated the meetings, and I actually had a reporter saying to me, well, isn't that stuff like going to the dump anyway? Shouldn't, you know, maybe those people need that stuff. And I likened it to vultures picking over victims' bones. Like, stay out of our communities. We support the police. You guys haven't got enough resources. We know that. We are on your side. I promise you that. But you guys need some help, and you need that from the powers to be, who wouldn't allow you to come to my meeting, and I know that. You'd have been there with bells on if you could. So I plan to keep fighting. I'm going to be part of Troy's team, the A team, to help you guys, and I'm not going to go away, because I can tell you something, crime ain't going to go away either. You wait for the rebuild. So we need the Minister of Police to know that you guys can't be sent away, and I'm talking about our police, because this problem's going to get worse when you start rebuilding and all that lovely wiring goes into your homes, and plumbing and fuse boards and you know, anything new. That's what they're going to be after, because that's what happened in Christchurch. So that's where we need the Army, and I'm going to be harping on about that until I can see some green uniforms. All right? So I would really love you to email me with some more examples. I think sometimes a picture paints 1,000 words, and that's why I asked to keep those hands up while I took a picture. I'll be taking that to my meeting on Friday. Thank you guys. I love you all, and I'm going to help you all until I fall over, I promise you. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Lynn. So, yeah, we can all hang around and have a yarn and ask questions of the people who are still here, but the speakers, but I'll hand it back over to Pity to close the meeting after I've given the microphone to Ginny.
It's just from me, sorry, just in relation to what Louise said around people wanting to report things. Please, the staff here tonight, please come and tell us. It's really important we know what's going on. So that, yeah, please come and talk to us about it. Kapo.
I'd just like to close. It hasn't been a gig for you speakers or for us here, but I think we could give you a round of applause for fun tonight. Yeah.
Kia ora, Pakowhai.
Sorry, can I just say something before you begin? I'm Jana. I'm one of the ladies that helped out with the food hustle drop. We're continuing with the meal drive, and so we have got a whole lot of meals from Auckland and our community Havelock, and we've been baking. You don't have to fill out a form, you don't have to pass any money, and we're at the front out here. If we'd like to take a meal home, please just come, we'll just give you one.
Lovely.
And we'll keep going for as long as you need us.
I like that one over there. It says Pakowhai matters. I'm a guest here and amongst your community. And I just want to acknowledge and say that where I live, I was not affected like you have been. So one part of this is actually acknowledging how you've been feeling, how you've been devastated, and how you've come together even tonight. Just to be able to provide a voice to some of us that are here about your sense of feeling from where you've come, but also your sense of hope about where you want to be. And so if my Auntie Polly was here, and I would, well, she died actually in 1993. But if I was to answer and say, does Pakowhai deserve a prayer and a karakia, unlike your nieces and nephews on the day? And then I'm sure there would be a resounding yes. So this is actually not so much a prayer, it's more an invocation that strikes to the sense of where you aspire to be as opposed to where you are today. This thing just goes on and on. And it goes a wee bit like this. It was said in the 1880s, but it was about a sense of hope and aspiration and direction for you, Pakowhai, moving forward. And if I repeat that invocation, it's to try and just grasp the thoughts of where you want to be, as opposed to where you are. It goes a wee bit like this. I'll say it in Māori, but I'll also say it in English. It goes, kia hore te marino, kia whakapapapauna mi te moana, kia tere te kārohirohi, kai mua rā I tō huarahi, haere Pakowhai haere, ko tōho haere ko te rangi Māori. Translated, it's like this. May the calm be widespread. May the pathways in front of you glisten like that of greenstone. May the shimmer of sun forever light up the pathways that lie before you. May you achieve the destination and the aspiration that you as a community aspire to. And may your constant companion be peace and goodwill, not only to yourselves, but all to venture in here with peace and goodwill. And I'll close with this. Cease the winds from the west, cease the winds from the south. Let the breezes blow over the land, intermingle with those that come off the sea. Let the red-tipped dawn come with a sharpened ear, a touch of sleet, a touch of frost. It was bloody cold this morning, no? The promise of a glorious day ahead for you, Pakowhai. Tēnā koutou, huri noa, tēnā tātou, and thank you for welcoming us all.